Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, where we look into the many facets of the job, the career, and the lifestyle of investment and insurance product wholesaling. I am your host, the creator of the Awesome Wholesaler Experience, and yours truly, Awesome Mike. Hey, everyone, have yet another special guest on the show today. Indeed, she is very special, Mrs. Anne Bachrach. Yes, that name sounds familiar, but maybe for not what you're thinking about. Anne Bachrach, let me tell you about her a little bit. She has dedicated her career to helping business people and entrepreneurs improve their productivity, profitability, and most importantly, their quality of life. Now, her coaching and training services are in high demand, yet she only works with clients who are truly serious about achieving their goals and living their dreams. Ironically, Anne is known as the accountability coach, the accountability pit bull, and the results accelerator. She is the author of Excuses Don't Count, Results Rule, Live Life with No Regrets, No Excuses, and the Work-Life Balance Emergency Kit. She's also the co-author of Roadmap to Success with the late Dr. Stephen Covey and Ken Blanchard. But most impressively, she is the star host of two podcasts on iTunes. First one is The Accountability Coach, and the second one is The Accountability Minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I found nearly 500 episodes dating back to September of 2008. So therefore, Anne is definitely an original podcaster. Thanks for being there, Anne, and doing that. Make me feel like a novice. Welcome to the show. How are you today, Anne?
Awesome, Mike. Could I be anything else?
How long did you work on that opening?
Actually, it just came to me just now.
I love it. That is awesome. That's terrific. I have a question for you before we get going. And there's a little bit of I think it's a cognitive dissonance that I'm having. Essentially, it is that you live in the nicest part of the world. You are the nicest woman that I've talked to in a long time. You are very approachable. And at the same time, there's a photo of you kicking this man in the rear end to make it happen. So I have to ask you this question. What is it, Anne? Is it the carrot or the stick that works?
Well, that's a tough one. It could go either way. It's like chicken or the egg. So it really depends on the situation. The reality is, though, is that the number one reason people don't get what they want in business and life is lack of accountability, at least in my opinion. So accountability, we all need a little accountability for something in our life to be able to go to whatever that level is next for whatever we're trying to accomplish. So I know I'm not giving you an answer directly to your question, but I don't know that there is a right or wrong answer. So yeah, the picture of the guy that you saw, me kicking him in the ass, there was a photo shoot and we were just having some fun and we said, let's do this. And when I was coaching him years and years and years ago, and we're still really good friends, he used to have a team that said to him, Mark gets his whooping and then we get ours. So I thought that was appropriate to just demonstrate, we all need a little kick in the ass now and then to get us going, right?
I actually agree, and there are many techniques. So it's interesting, being that you are a sophisticated young lady, of course you have many tools at your disposal. Us guys, we just want to know the answer, stick or carrot, and you're telling me that it can be both or maybe all of the above. Yeah. Let's go back a little bit, though, and figure out how in the world did you become such a stellar performer, such an inspiring and motivating woman. I think it started way back in history, back in the middle of the country, back in God's country, in a little town called Galion, where you came up, home of the Tigers. Is that correct, Anne?
I don't know what it's home of because there's not much there.
I was going to say the corn-eating Tigers because that's all there is out there in the middle of Ohio.
Yeah.
But, so tell us about that. You grew up in Galion. Who were your mentors growing up? Were you always, a free-spirited person to try to help people and hold them accountable? Were those whoopings handed out on a regular basis in Ohio?
Boy, you're going way back, aren't you? You're dating me. Not sure that's good. Well, the reality yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, so we traveled to a lot of different places in the Midwest. Galion happened to be one of them, where I went to high school. I was very competitive, let's just call it that, and in sports. So I played volleyball, basketball, ran track. I even tried to throw shot put. I was 100 pounds soaking wet with the farm girls, and who are twice my size, and I said, I want to throw the shot put. That looks like a cool sport. I want to do that. And in the beginning I actually did pretty well, but as the season progressed, they got better. Of course, they're twice my size, and I couldn't compete. But I did high jump and ran track and did a lot of sports or activities. So I think the accountability for me was that I was competitive. So
And
that
was that a thing in your family, or was that your parents, or did you have
no,
someone in your life that kind of inspired you?
not really, to be honest. I just, for some reason, ever since I was really young, I always was into some kind of sports. My brothers weren't really into sports, and they skied and played golf. My mom, I don't know if she was ever in.
Arguably sports. I know I told you I wouldn't interrupt you, but those two are arguably sports, by
Well,
the
they
way.
are sports, but I mean, they weren't into like,
Competitive.
hey, we're playing volleyball or we're doing, I mean, it was like, hit the ball and walk after it. Really? I mean, and it's a tough sport. I get that. Because I've played golf, and it's really mindset, and I mean, it's really a lot of things. So I don't mean to diminish the fact that, you know, skiing and golf and a couple things like that are like not sports. They just weren't things that were they weren't super competitive. They just liked to play it, and nobody was really competitive. I mean, I wanted my name in the paper. I really worked hard to be the number one. When somebody was like first number one and I was number two, that really upset me. And I really wanted to be number one, and I worked hard to try to get back to number one. So that one, and it's so funny, my husband is not competitive, and it's just really funny. He says, you're so competitive, and I said, I don't know how to change that. Yeah, I am. What can I say?
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. So you left Ohio and went up to the promised land of the Gopher land. You went from the Tigers to the Gophers, the Golden Gophers, of course, the University of Minnesota, eh?
Oh, yep, that's
And
right.
so you spent some time there and getting your schoolings in. And then did you see a brochure or maybe a commercial about California
TV, palm trees.
and said, that's the place that I should be, right?
That's exactly what I said.
So tell us about that and how you ended up in paradise from the Midwest.
I was actually working for IBM at the time. And I did see palm trees. That's the truth. On television, I used to keep my apartment at 80 and wear shorts in the winter. And I never looked down to see the ground, piled full of snow and ice and all that. And I always said, I need to be in a warm country. I need to be in a warm place. And so I always thought, hey, palm trees look pretty cool. I like those. So let me figure out how to get there. And so I went to the branch manager and asked for a job transfer, which at my level at the time really wasn't heard of very much. And another rep at IBM knew the manager in San Diego and called him and said, look, if you're looking for anybody to hire, you need to, consider Anne. And he did. And when he said, hey, when I need somebody, you got to be ready to go. And I said, that's no problem here. So packed up, my few little belongings in my car, and away I went out to where palm trees are.
Moved to Beverly Hills, that is, right?
That's exactly right.
So you kind of open up the next chapter. IBM career, systems engineer.
Yeah.
Not a lot of room for creativity there. Not a lot of room for outside the box thinking. What happened in your life that transitioned you from being this, corporate cog or peg in the cog or spoke in the cog to this hippie, free living Californian, and it's helping people with accountability? Can you tell us about the transition and how you ended up on your current, platform, which you've been for many years?
Yeah, I have. IBM offered the out package. So even though I have actually a marketing degree and business degree, which is what they paid for, basically, not any systems engineer or engineering degree. So I don't have any of the technical degrees that you might associate with a systems engineer. My degree is in marketing business management. So, and I got a lot of actually my credits towards my degree in IBM doing marketing type work, creating brochures, putting on seminars, creating everything that goes along with the marketing aspect of that, which, really helped me because I didn't have to take as many classes because they were so impressed with the binder I put together of all the marketing I did, really helped give me, extra credits, so to speak, towards my degree. When they were offering the out package, I just was tired of what I was doing. It really wasn't of interest to me a whole lot anymore. And I've never worked for myself. And I had enough money saved that I said, I can afford to live so many months. And of course, a mother who doesn't know anything other than you have to have a job, you have to work for somebody, was freaking out. And I said, Mom, look, if I need to, I can go work at McDonald's, for crying out loud. There's a job there. If I need money, it's like not too hard to get a job. If you can do basic things. And she was like, oh my God. And, she was all stressed out. And I actually started promoting speakers, of which Bill was one of the group of people that I was marketing. So using my degree, putting that into place. I ended up meeting a lady who was also marketing a speaker. And we were at a National Speakers Association event. And I said, do you want to hold each other accountable, to our goals? Again, my competitiveness, right? It's like, do you want to work together? And she's like, oh, that's a great idea, because we're really alone doing what we did to the best of our ability. There's no playbook for that. You have to figure it out. You create your own systems and processes. You do everything. No, there's no real playbook that I know of or ever heard of for this job, that you have. And so I created all the spreadsheets for our tracking, everything that we needed to hold each other accountable. And every Friday afternoon for 30 minutes, we had a call and said, okay, what'd you get done this week that you said you needed to do? And what didn't you do? And what are you going to commit to next week? So we just was like, boom, boom, boom. And then, hey, have a great rest of your week. See you next week. So it was just, that's where the whole accountability really went into play. And I started measuring things and keeping track of things. And I ended up basically helping my husband take his business from about 250,000 to 1.5 million in a really short period of time. So I had people then calling me going, what did you do? How did you do that? What systems are you using? I'm going, well, just some tracking spreadsheets and metrics. And, like most people who are successful, what you track gets measured, and what you measure, things happen. So it's just pretty much business success principles, not too complicated. And that's how then people started, saying, hey, can you help me do that? And that's really where I fell into this whole role of an accountability coach.
Wow, it's a terrific story. They say that, what is it? Necessity creates ingenuity.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're a natural for that. You've written so much. You've done so many podcasts. Literally, I haven't slept very well this week, just preparing final touches for this episode. And I thank you for that. And I can thank you.
I was going to say, you didn't sleep well?
No,
I do a very good job.
I was up late. learning and devouring it. And but I think that your information is timely. And one in particular, you mentioned on there, the 4 reasons to hire an accountability coach. And you probably just skinning it down to 4. I'm sure you have 40. But can you give us the top reasons? And just to kind of remind everyone, most of the audience are wholesalers, financial advisors, and support personnel. So sometimes they're interested in coaching, sometimes they're not. So what were the biggest reasons you found that successful people actually hire an accountability coach?
Well, I had actually one gentleman call me one time and he said, Anne, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So you understand what that means, right? So it's like, hey, I'm tired of, doing the same things, definition of insanity, getting the same results. I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, that's just simply put. And most people want to achieve more. They want to have more. And some of them will say that, here's kind of the flip side of that, Mike, is that a lot of people I've talked to, and I do, interviews with people initially to see if it's a right fit to do coaching. And I find that some people say they want certain things, but the reality is that they aren't going to do the work required to get there. So, and I tell them that. I said, look, you're happy, you don't like maybe where you're at, but I can't do the work for you. And if you really aren't going to do it, you can't go anyplace else. I mean, you can incrementally make some, progress, but the reality is that, you're comfortable enough because you don't want to be uncomfortable to do what it takes to get to the next level. So to me, it's just, people know that they want more, they're willing to put in the work, willing to take their whoopings, if that's what you want to call it, and really make it happen. So they know they're capable of more, they're sick of where they're at, they really want more, are really the main drivers. And that can be in business and personal. I mean, I've had people originally call me and say, hey, Anne, I want to lose weight. This was way back in the beginning, or I want to be more fit, and I really need help with that. Well, I believe in work-life balance. So I said, well, you have to have business and personal goals to work with me. You can't just be one-sided. So they ended up making a ton more money and being fit. So it's, to me, I don't know if that 100% answers your question, but to me, those are really the drivers behind why somebody would pick up the phone to call me or send me an email saying, I need help.
Do you find that the folks that have that, I think Napoleon Hill quoted it as a burning desire for change, aren't they the ones that really don't need coaching because they're irritated enough that they're actually going to do something? It's the ones that are actually marginal and not quite able to be irritated enough to put the TV remote down. I mean, there's just one more episode on this series to watch on Netflix. One more. They're the ones that really probably could benefit a lot from accountability. Is that what you find, or is it the opposite?
Well, they can benefit from accountability, but I think they're somewhat happy where they're at. So there isn't any internal drive or motivation that is going to push them enough to actually do the work required. And people who are super motivated, it doesn't mean that they don't have another gear. They don't have a next level, and that's why they need somebody to really help them get there so they stay laser focused. So they might already be, I've worked with people that make, $250,000 to $10 million. So you'd think, hey, somebody making $10 million is happy. No, they have a whole nother gear. They have a whole nother level. They could restructure their business. Sometimes, I've looked at things with people making 10 million and I said that this part of your business is stupid. Let me tell you how to change that, in my opinion, and stop spending all this money and energy and stress and move it over here. And it doesn't cost you anything. Immediately, your valuation of your business goes up and everybody's happier. So, it's, everybody has a next level, and everybody, I think people who are more highly motivated still need an accountability.
You mentioned one of the biggest detriments to success is one person's limiting beliefs.
Yep.
Can accountability help me change my limiting beliefs?
I believe so, because a lot of times we have limiting beliefs we don't even know we have. So can I give you an example?
Absolutely. I'll be your guinea pig if you'd like.
So I work with mainly financial professionals. So 99% of my clientele are financial advisors, even though I don't have a financial background. And I was talking to a gentleman one day, and we were talking about referrals. And as you know, most advisors don't ask for referrals for whatever reason they have. And this gentleman happened to ask for referrals. So first of all, good job for doing that. And he said, Anne, I get one referral every time I ask. That's what I get. That's what I'm getting. That's just the way it is. And I said, well, what do you believe you're going to get? He goes, one, because that's what I get. And I said, well, what if you believed you could get more than one? So he had a limiting belief he didn't realize that he had that was limiting him to the number of referrals he could get if he had a different mindset. So that's just a simple example of a limiting belief. There's just so many. Matter of fact, I was just doing my monthly webinar today for the accountability group, and one of my slides was on limiting beliefs, because when I'm listening to a lot of these people in the group coaching sessions that I do, a lot of them just have, and they're not necessarily big limiting beliefs, but they're there. And I said, look, let's just look at this a different way. Let's think about this a different way. And when you change the paradigm in their head, or change the way they think, or give them an outcome that's possible, because we just limit ourselves. I mean, I've had so many people tell me, I don't want to do that. I'm uncomfortable doing that. I said, just suck it up and just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? But what's the best thing that can happen? And when they actually do it, they're like, oh my God, Anne, it went great. It was awesome. Awesome, Mike. And it was, fantastic, and nothing bad happened. So once you start seeing that, then you start doing more of those things that your head tells you, maybe it's not possible, or tells you all these stories that are made up. Oh, this can happen and that can happen. And so that stops you from doing it. And once you just kind of go, I'm not going to listen to that, I'm not going to listen to that, thing on my shoulder telling me this is going to occur. I'm not going to have any assumptions. I'm just going to go into it and do it and see what happens. That's the only way I'm going to know for sure.
And, a lot of the people in the audience have limiting beliefs, whether it's fitness, whether it's financial, whether it's productivity. Can you give us what's the trick? Like let's say for myself, I have a limiting belief that, I don't even know what it is. Maybe that it's, that a financial advisor is not going to schedule a meeting with me because they are too big of an office and they don't use my company's kind of products. That is totally a limiting belief.
Yeah, I mean, but what if you came to them with something that's going to be of value? So you're not necessarily coming into it with a product that could benefit them. You're coming into it from a different angle. So what if you said, well, what would be of interest to them? What would be of value? And a lot of times it's the same thing. From a wholesaler perspective, advisors need certain things. They need things. What do most advisors want? More clients, right?
More money, yes.
More money, more clients. They want to work less. So what if you had something that you could take them, like values-based financial planning book, or what if you could take them something that would be of value to them that they would appreciate? So it's not necessarily saying they're going to do business with you, but it helps that you become someone they can rely on for ideas, for value, that's going to help them get more clients, grow their clientele, increase the value of their business, and perhaps work less so they can have better work-life balance. What if you came at it from that approach as opposed to, I just want to sell them a product?
It sounds a little like, positive thinking-ish. Is there a lot of power in that? I mean, is it something that can actually work if you try it?
Sure. I mean, I believe that, you visualize something happening and you can then manifest it in reality. So a lot of things that I do talk about to people that I coach is, visualization is powerful. So if I'm going to pick up the phone, here's what I need to do to get my mindset in the right place with the outcome that I want. So if I want this outcome, what do I need to do to get that, or have the highest probability to get that? Doesn't guarantee it, but at least I have the right mindset as opposed to just jumping into something. So I've got a pre-shot routine, so to speak. I guess you might take that from golf or tennis or whatever, really, sport. But I have something that I'm going to do in advance to at least have a highest probability to get the outcome that I'm looking for. So first of all, what is the outcome? What do you want? That's where you start, the outcome. Begin with the end in mind, right? Then work your way backwards and say, okay, what are the things that I could do? What are all of the things I could do? And then pick something, and maybe you want to, if that doesn't work exactly the way you want it, maneuver it just a hair, a little bit. It's just like in golf, if I'm, hitting it to the right too far or to the left too far, what minor thing might I do? I'm not changing my whole swing. what minor thing might I do to get the outcome for it to go straight if I wanted it to go straight.
That can actually help to build your confidence, knowing that you have that routine,
Yep.
knowing that you've tested it and improved it. And it's about I think it's about creating momentum that helps me to kind of get over my limiting beliefs. Another thing that you talk about at length is creating a game plan. Create your own game plan for success that you will actually accomplish. Like
Implement.
you'll actually do it.
Yeah.
So how do you as a coach help folks to create those game plans that they'll actually do?
Well, again, it starts with the big picture. So I have them go through a process where it's the wheel of life, and there's 100 different kinds of wheels of life out there. And I just basically say, if life were a perfect 10 in each one of these areas, what would that look like? What would it feel like? Who would you be with? What would you be doing? And then we work our way backwards. So we say, okay, here's the big picture. And then I need to work my way, backwards to say, okay, well, if this is what my life would be like at a perfect 10, what do I need to do just this year that would help me make progress towards the achievement of that goal? So we basically chunk everything down into bite-sized pieces. That therefore it makes it more manageable, and we can track it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I like it. I think that it's very wise. And then there's, of course, the acid test. Are you willing to do what it is going to take to accomplish the thing that you say that you want?
Actually, let me pause you on that one. Willing doesn't mean you will. So will you actually take action? Just because somebody says they're willing to do something doesn't make sure that they actually will do it.
Yeah. And as a coach, how do you help them with that? Is it the stick or the carrot, or is it an art form?
Well, it's tough sometimes. I mean, first of all, the person has to be open, to be coached. That there's a big one there. And sometimes, and I don't like to do this, and you've heard this before, are you motivated by the positive outcome that you're going to get, or do you have to have a consequence associated with it? So I don't really like to go the consequence route, because I'm hoping the outcome of them doing the activity is enough to pull them or drive them to do the actions that they need to do, but it's not a foolproof 100% of the time. So if they say, hey, and they're serious, I want to achieve this goal, but they're continually not doing the activity, I said, okay, are you serious? First of all, we have to really confirm that this is the goal you want. Yes, and it is. Okay, well then what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to have a consequence. So you're going to, whatever it is, donate money. For example, I have somebody that, believe it or not, doesn't like homeless people. So I said, okay, you're going to send me a check or your credit card information for $500. If you don't do X within this time frame, they're going to get this check, or I'm going to call them with your credit card information for a donation. I have somebody who, and I love Siamese cats, but doesn't like Siamese cats. So I said, okay, I'm going to donate money, to Siamese Rescue, for example, of this amount if this doesn't occur. And during, politics time, some people, obviously like one politician over another, said, okay, you're going to be donating money to the politician they hate. So again, whatever it is that's going to drive them, and it has to hurt. It's not like, hey, this is $100. Somebody who makes, $250,000 or $10 million, $100 is not going to affect their life. Okay. It's something significant that they do not want to have happen.
It's very interesting. And in fact, I lost a bet. Which is why I shaved my head. It's not. I watched a couple of your videos, and one of them was very interesting. And you said that telling the truth and being blunt, if you would, fact-based, is what a lot of successful people respond to. I think you're laughing because you know where I'm going with this. In fact, you said that most people respond to bare-balled, buck-naked facts. Most of them got that way by remaining grounded in reality. Tell us how you use the truth to actually help the successful even be more successful.
Okay. Well, it's tough sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's tough love. I was working in an office space one time, and I had was talking to a client, and he wasn't achieving his goals. And I said, tell me when you decided to change your goals. And I was like almost yelling at him. Like, when did you decide to be mediocre? I don't understand what's going on. Like, when did you decide this was going to be, you wanted a mediocre lifestyle compared to what you originally told me you wanted? And we went through this, and I just was like yelling at him. And he was like, oh God, Anne, that's what I needed. Oh, you're so right. I don't know what happened. And I came out of the office, and the guy said, who in the world were you talking to? And I said, a client. And he goes, what? And they said, and they liked it. I said, oh yeah, it shaped him right up. Sometimes it's just the truth and the reality, like a slap in the face. It's like, what were you thinking? My girlfriend has an expression. She says, walk into this, and it's, it's hysterical every time she does it too. She goes, what's wrong with you? Walk into this. And so it's like we all just need a little, shake me up a little bit and get me back to, where I need to be focused.
Yeah, I've heard it said that everyone out there is looking for a stern but loving parent. And you look like a very young, stern but loving parent, both on video and on paper. So I think that's probably why you're so successful. I have to ask you though, don't most people they don't like to be held accountable? Isn't that why most self-help, personal development booklets and binders are actually used to hold the door open?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, really, again, the number one reason people don't get what they want in life and business is lack of accountability. So, a lot of people, like I said, want something maybe more, but the accountability is tough. And one-on-one accountability is one of the hardest things to do, because they know they're talking to you, and it's like, okay, I better perform, or and I was trying to fire a guy the other day. I said, look, I don't get it. If you're not going to do what I tell you to do, you need to find somebody else. I'm not saying my way is the best way, but and he goes, no, Anne, I still want to talk to you because you tell me the truth and you make it, you slap me around a little bit. And I'm like, what? and it's like, I can't get rid of this guy. And it's like, no, because I don't work with people that just aren't going to make progress. It doesn't work for me. I don't want to talk to them, and I don't want to be unhappy talking to people. I love what I do. I love helping people make progress. I love them, exceeding their goals. It makes me feel good. Maybe that's a little selfish, but that really, feels good to me. So, left to our own devices, we have good intentions, but most of us just don't do what we're supposed to do. We have gym equipment in our house. I walk by it every day. And if I don't pay someone to, work out with me, I'm walking by it and I know that enough about myself that I need accountability in that area, because I will not stop at the gym equipment, even though we have everything. We've got a BOSU balls, a universal, a bench. We have weights. We have, all kind of balls and, ladders to go outside and all kinds of stuff. And if I don't pay somebody either to come here or for me to go there, it just isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if you heard of the new legislation that was just passed. I think it's a couple of years old now, that all new workout equipment, all of the levers and handles and that, they have to face up. They have to face up now, because otherwise the clothes just slide right off.
Yeah, I had a rowing machine when I was back in Minnesota that sat, and I used it to dry clothes on. Yeah, exactly.
One thing you and I forget the name of it, but essentially it was a technique. And I think a lot of the wholesalers and financial advisors that are listening might apply this technique, but I'd like you to kind of explain it. It's something to the effect of, you have person A holds person B accountable, person B holds person C accountable, and so on, and then eventually C, D, or E holds person A accountable. Is that the accountability ring, or what was that?
Well, it's more of a group accountability way to do things. So sometimes, because the one-on-one I said is really tough accountability, the group accountability isn't as hard, because I think people let you off the hook a little bit more. So it's not quite as daunting. For some people, I don't think it's as effective, obviously, either, but it's just a little bit less daunting. So it's typically better to have, and maybe you've experienced this, to have more than one person in a group. Because, if one person a little bit lets you down or isn't there, then you don't do it. Like, hey, if I have a workout buddy and they're sick, I'm probably not going to the gym. either, because, oh, I can take the day off, my buddy's sick. So that's why you have, a group, and typically the groups, I believe, should be at least minimum 3, and 3 is usually not enough, to 5 to be effective. And the reason somebody's on vacation or somebody is sick, they have the other people, but it works so that I'm not just holding you accountable. So if A is, accountable to B, and B is accountable to C, and C, so you kind of go that way. And it doesn't mean that, so I'm not holding you directly accountable, somebody else is. So it just works a little bit easier in a group setting. But we all hold each other accountable, though, as well. So somebody else could say, hey, well, so-and-so didn't ask you this question, and I want to, ask you this or about that, or, so it doesn't mean that that's the only way that it goes. I mean, because you're in a group environment, but it helps you really, like I'm giving my report to, awesome Mike. So I'm, Mike's accountable for me, and I'm going to give my report, and he's going to be the one that's going to be the, one that tells me the hard truth, for example.
Yeah, I have been involved in several different arrangements, and a couple of points that come to mind as you're talking. First one is there's really not a lot of value if everyone that's helping each other is suffering, especially if it's a one-on-one or 2, 3 people in a group. If everyone is suffering, it's hard for somebody who's a slacker to hold somebody else accountable. So what you bring to the table, Anne, is very unique, actually. The ability to stand there and, for their good, hold them accountable with your charm, like you mentioned earlier. That's a unique skill that you have. Most people avoid conflict, and those that even receive it, if it's not coming from the right person, they can be resentful, and it can be counterproductive. One of my mentors, he has a system where there's 3 tiers of accountability. First one is what you mentioned: what gets measured gets accomplished. So to have a written plan in place, like you mentioned, and then he's hiring a coach, having an individual. The value that you brought to that person by being in their office is immeasurable to them. And then the third one is to have that social accountability, or that community, to where you do have kind of a team think. And so I've experienced them all, and I think that they're all unique, and that there is definitely an art to it. What do you think that is there a percentage? Is it 10 times as productive if you have a coach versus not having a coach? Of course, it's individual, but I'm trying to put the kind of the value on it. If I'm a wholesaler and I don't have a coach, my production levels are going to be here. What do you think the potential is if I hire or if I seek out a coach?
I think it's going to really vary. I hate to say that, but I think it depends on the individual, again, and to the degree that they really want to accomplish something. So, for example, I was working with an advisor in the Midwest, and we set up all of his goals, and his peers in the office, he, for some reason, shared some of his goals with his peers, and they go, oh, there's no way you're going to ever accomplish that. I mean, that's just way too far out there. You're setting yourself up to lose and be unhappy. And I mean, just, negative. And he said, no, I'm sticking with my goals. At the end of his year, he had, and so this means his goals were set high, in other words. And I always tell people, do a stretch goal. It's something you think is possible, but it's a stretch. Not something that, hey, I think is easy to reach. Obviously, that's not going to motivate you. At the end of the year, I told him he was my stellar student. He had exceeded every single one of his goals except one that he hit. So he had exceeded every single goal that he set, and it was a stretch, except for one, and that one he just hit on the nose. So, his motivation was up. It even shocked the hell out of him. He was like, what? He couldn't even believe how much ahead of schedule he was as the year was going on. And then there's those people where, you almost have the visual of me kicking them in the ass. You got to kind of almost pull them along a little bit. They want it, and they're making progress in the right direction, but it's a lot slower. And I even had, back in the beginning, I had some guy that said, look, Anne, I'm just going to work at my pace. So stop trying to push me to go faster. Even though I wanted him to go faster because I knew he was capable of achieving something faster, he didn't want to go at that pace. So I think, and he still accomplished his goals, and he was fine with it. but he just wanted to go at a different pace. I'm fine with that. As long as people are making progress in the right direction, then I'm happy to work with them. So some people want to go faster and some people just kind of want to go a little bit slower. If they're just not doing the work, though, it doesn't work for me. It obviously doesn't work for them, and it's not going to work for me either. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. If they're waiting for gravity, it might be a long road to progress.
Yeah.
One of my original mentors always preached that it's not about perfection, it's about progress,
Yeah.
not perfection.
Right.
I want to ask you though, what is your opinion on this thing called, you mentioned it, you mentioned work-life balance. I've heard it be called the whole person concept.
Yep.
But what about the person that is maniacal about what they do? They are so passionate that they are actually most alive when they are at work in the saddle, saving lives, blazing trails, guns blazing. And that's where they want to really succeed. That's where they're really happy. Is that a false narrative? Is that a mirage, and they're actually not fulfilling their potential?
Well, I still believe there has to be work-life balance to some degree. So I was working with a lady once, and for example, and she had recently got divorced, not pleasant experience. And one of the areas of Wheel of Life is relationship. Now, it doesn't have to be with a partner. It could be just relationships. But I said, the only goal I want you to have for this one is just to be open to the fact of having a relationship at some point in the future. So that's the only goal we're going to have. So we're going to take baby steps with that, because she was like, I don't want to do this at all. Like, don't even talk to me. And I said, well, let's just make it a goal to be open. And like within 2 months, she was dating somebody. I mean, but it's just the fact that, somebody can be so adamant, hey, I don't want to do this. And, when you just make a little bite-sized goal, and it goes into your subconscious, right? And so your subconscious can actually be working for you to help you get to the ultimate goal. So if you're going to work with me, you do have to have goals for all areas of your life. Doesn't have to be a whole bunch of them, doesn't have to be super big, but I just believe that that's important to our being and who we are. And if you're all work, believe me, you're not probably very effective. So you've got to have downtime. You've got to have exercise. I mean, I just was reading something the other day, actually, in the Values-Based Quality of Life newsletter, about just even standing up. Like how much more energy and oxygen your body gets, like if you're sitting at the computer all day or doing stuff at your desk all day, and how that really does help you. And that's logical, right? We just don't think of that. How that really helps you be more effective. So if you're constantly work, 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 believe me, you're not as effective as you can be. So it's probably taking you longer to get things done than it really should take.
Yeah, so I think you're saying that it is a mirage. If
Yep.
you feel like you are, ultra successful in one area of your life,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually deceiving yourself. And the coaching that you do requires someone to address all of their angles, the work, the
Mm-hmm.
life balance, if you call it that, or the whole person concept. That's very interesting to see that. So wholesalers, if you're listening, I know a lot of us can be on the road and traveling, and it's easy to leave on a Sunday night and get back on a Saturday morning and neglect the family and the home life. And it's a mirage. It's a false god to worship.
Well,
And
everything affects everything, not just physical. If my foot hurts, it's going to affect my knee and my hip and my back and probably the other side of my body as well. So if you're out, work, 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 traveling and doing all that, there's things that you can put into play that can help you be more effective on the road, be more effective, with exercise or talking to your family or doing whatever it might be.
I'm sold. I was sold when I was doing research about you. Folks can contact you via your webpage, which is pretty cool. It's www.accountabilitycoach.com. Reach out to you there. And you have some programs that are available. You mentioned your group coaching. You're doing some individual coaching. You've been doing that for some time now, Anne. What do you see happening for you and for your business, let's say in the next 10 years or 15 years? Any projects on the horizon we can anticipate?
Well, I've done all the projects. I mean, you mentioned my books. I've done all the book writing. These have been around for a long time, and people are saying, oh, you need to write another book. It's like, really? Do I need to write another book? I think I've done enough with that and have enough online things. The things for me, and again, it sounds selfish sometimes, I think, when I hear myself say it, is that I love what I do. And I love making a difference for people, for those who want that. And it really gets me excited to help people get to where they ultimately want to go in their life. And so for me, it's nothing big or, luxurious or really special. I mean, even my husband says, you're always like, happy on the phone or being nice. And I said, well, you don't hear me all the time, obviously. But I am laughing. I mean, it's not just me always, kicking them in the butt or beating them up. We can joke around with things, even though we're serious about doing things. And I make my calls as, like to the point and focused as possible. But the reality is it's fun for me. I love it. I feel like I am making a difference. And so, sorry, Mike, awesome Mike, it's nothing luxurious or glamorous. I just like making a difference for people and helping. And I feel this is my calling.
It really shows. I mean, it really shows. You illuminate the room, you illuminate the camera, and on the videos that I've seen of you, you're very engaging. So congratulations on finding that. A lot of folks don't find that in their life. And we, wish you much success down the road. Let's do this, and let's shift gears here. Actually, I want to ask you one question. One more question.
Uh-oh.
And it's about accountability. How do you get held accountable? There are listeners that are on here that are top-notch players in the business, and maybe they have a coach or not, but how does someone like yourself is probably more difficult for you to be held accountable, or is it easier? Do you already embrace it?
Well, it's a really good question, because I have people that are around me that help me. Like I said, well, I can't do that. What? I said, well, I guess I don't know how to do that. So I mean, sometimes people, catch me, saying things, but there's nothing like when you're coaching somebody. I mean, you have to follow suit. And if I don't do what I tell people to do, I'm a charlatan. I mean, I'm not authentic. I'm not who I, put myself out in the world to be. So, and I even tell my clients, I said, I'm not perfect either. I have to work on the things I'm telling you as well. I mean, if I say, follow your calendar, do exactly what it says, and I don't do that, I'm just as guilty. So, it's just like when you teach somebody something, right? You have to be good at it. You have to know it. You have to embrace it, and you become better at it yourself because you're teaching others. So, the things that I go through, I mean, I've experienced a lot of these things myself, of course, which helps me, me being able to do what I've done. Some people go to coach university or coach this, but they don't have any real life experience. It's like I'm coaching somebody who makes $10 million and I, make 50,000 and I have no experience. I don't know how that works. So, mine's real life experience. I've been there, I've done it. I continue to be there and do it, and working with people. I mean, it helps me obviously learn from them as well, but I have to do what I say. And that's my accountability, is my clients are holding me accountable, whether they realize that or not.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's actually a terrific answer. So wholesalers, financial advisors, reach out to Anne if you would like to be kicked in the pants with a smile, of course. And let me ask you my signature questions here, and we'll bring this one home. Yeah, these are the questions that I ask to everyone if they deserve it. If you're not a good guest, then I'll just breeze by and close the show. But you were terrific. Some would say you were awesome. And here's the question. First one. You pick up the phone, you dial up your headset. On the other end of the phone is 25-year-old future Anne Bachrach. You have 5 minutes. What advice do you give your younger 25-year-old self?
Well, really, I think that's a good question. It comes down to, we always say what I know now. If I knew then what I know now, I would have done these things. And some of the things you have to go through life making some mistakes to really have an impact on you. But to me, is if you want to be successful in life, you do have to track and measure things. All successful people I know track and measure certain things. So they call them their metrics, whether it's personal and or business, their metrics in their life. It can be 1, 2, 3, 10, 12 things. But to me, it's really measuring those things is really important. And, just showing up, showing up in the world in a way that you want people to, take you seriously. And I just had a thought that just left me, that I was going to say, and I just forgot it.
Well, while you're thinking of it, Ann, I will tell you that I'm sure that your folks and your teachers are very proud of you, because you've certainly shown up both business-wise and personally. Let's go to question number 2. You can always come back and add more of what you'd tell yourself. Question number 2 is a little more fun. So, no right answer, no wrong answer. I guess all the answers are right. And if you could have a superpower, anyone you'd like, which one would you choose, and what in the world would you do with it?
My superpower? I think my superpower is going to be to really be able to help people manifest what's really important to them. I don't know why I'm crying, but it's just I'm so passionate about people achieving things. And sometimes I don't think they know how to do it. They don't know what to do with what they have. And I think helping people realize what their superpower is and being able to take advantage of that would be my superpower.
That's beautiful. And again, I think that you're one of the lucky ones that have found your place, or your place has found you in life, and you're able to really have a tremendous impact on people, whether it's physically or metaphorically with the butt kicking. And, let's just give me a second here to really acknowledge you and appreciate you. I appreciate you being on the show today, of course, but I really appreciate you for the many years, almost 500 podcast episodes of content that you've put out there for the world to really engage with and to be nourished by. That's incredible. Many years of your hard work helping people to really to work less, make more money, and live the life of their dreams. That's definitely your trademark calling card. You truly are an icon in the personal development space, so thanks for being that. We all appreciate you and your work, and Anne, we wish you much fortune both now and in the future. As we say on the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, it's about the journey, and we wish you well on yours, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. And a huge thank you to everyone that's tuned in today. I appreciate you all very much. And if you haven't already done so, you can hit that little subscribe button and even join the notification squad. That's that little bell to make sure that you never miss a new episode. Here at the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, we are on a mission to get 1,000 new subscribers this summer. So we're going to need your help to make that happen. And so if it's not too much trouble, please subscribe and share this show with your colleagues and your friends. Thanks again for supporting this show. And of course, thanks for being awesome. Good night, everybody.